Okay, so this is the second video in our swarm trap catcher build, and so today we're building the top. So the last video, which we'll put some notes down here, we built the boxes, the base of the swarm trap, and now we're building the covers that go on those. So in Dr. Leo's plans that he calls for, Dr. Leo Shiraskin, at horizontalhive.com, we'll put that below. He calls for using 2x4, and so a traditional 2x4 that you would get from the hardware store would be 3.5 inches by 1.5 inches. So that's what his dimensions are based on. We run a sawmill. We have a Norwood HT36 portable band sawmill, and I had this full 2-inch by 8-inch piece. So we're just going to modify the plans a little bit. I suggest you guys just do it your way and follow a normal 2x4. So all we're doing in this is that we're going to rip some of these into 3/8 strips, and we're basically building a frame to go down on or cover so that it will sit down over top of the boxes we already. Okay, so we've got all of our pieces cut. We have another stack of pieces over on the other side. And basically all I did was, just so I didn't have to handle a long size 2x8 in my case, but in your case it would be a 2x4. I just took a rough estimate to get them close. So each of these pieces that I have will get me 2 of the ultimate one I'm looking for. So all I'm going to do, so I've got, this is a table saw sled that I built so that I can cut pieces like this across the grain. But if you have a chop saw, it would be the perfect application for that. You could do this with a skill saw, hand saw, whatever, it doesn't matter. Don't go invest in new equipment just because you see me do it one way. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to nip the end of this off so it's square. I've got a mark here on my sled that tells me where my 10 1/16 mark is, and I'm going to slide it through, and I'm just going to put out a bunch of these. Okay? All right, we'll get started. Do a quick double check to make sure my measurement's right, which it is. Okay, so we've got our pieces all cut out for our tops that we're building for our swarm trap boxes. And essentially now we just have to assemble them. Same as before, same as our previous video where we built the bottom part of these boxes. We're using a staple gun that uses these style of staples, 3/4 inch, 1 inch would be fine. But you do not have to have a gun to do these. You could nail these together, you could screw them together, whatever works for you. If you do nail or screw, especially because these are fairly thin, they're only 3/8, you should probably pre-drill. Pre-drill your holes before you nail or screw them together. And we're using some glue on this, and it's important that you get an exterior grade glue. So, okay, so we'll start and we'll put one together. And essentially, we're just going to take these guys here. I'm going to take one to begin with. Put a little bit of glue on his 2 ends. The glue starts working here. There we go. And again, it's not much. And this is probably overkill, which is pretty typical of me. I'm basically going to put these guys in here, and the short ones go in between the long ones. square to kind of keep everything square. Oop, a double tap on that one. Okay, now we'll flip it over, do the same thing with the other. And again, really I'm using a square, but it's not going to matter because it won't even stay square anyways. It'll be square when I put the top on it. But it gives us an idea. And as another safety measure, I know it's tempting to leave your fingers there, but I definitely suggest if you're using a stapler to get them the heck out of there, because you're going to end up stapling your finger, and that will hurt. And probably require a trip to the doctor that no one wants to do in these circumstances. Okay. And now we need one of the tops. And we'll put a rim of glue around the perimeter of this guy. Come on now. A whole bunch. And again, this is probably an extra step that's not needed, but we're building these swarm traps, and again, this is completely a trial. We've not done this before. We don't know if it's going to work, but we can see the common sense in what Dr. Leo Sharaskin is saying on his horizontalhive.com site. So we see the genius of it, and now is where we're going to make this square. So we're building these, and we're trying to spend the little bit of extra time and effort to make them quite rugged, because if this works, then we'll use this every year. So we want to build these traps so that they're usable every year. There's not a great deal of money invested into these traps. By the time we have 10 of them built, we will have bought 3 sheets of plywood for approximately 25 Canadian dollars each sheet of plywood, and we will have bought a couple other things. We bought some tubes for putting the scent attractant, the lemongrass essential oil in, and we bought some of the little round covers for closing off the slots. For closing off these slots, there's a round cover that goes over top of it and turns. Bought those, and we're probably 60 Canadian dollars between that, and that was enough to do 10 of these swarm traps. And the last thing we haven't purchased yet is flashing or tin to go over the top of these. If I had some of something else, I would put it on. If I had sheet metal available that was free, I would use that. There's nothing particular about it. You just want to do it for keeping them, for a long time, right? It's basically weatherproofing. Okay, so that's one. We're going to get together and do a whole bunch more. But essentially, this is the cover for our swarm trap. Here's hoping it fits. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, what I thought was going to be me finishing a cover and putting it onto our swarm trap and having it look great, it didn't work out that way. It does fit on lengthwise, but what we discovered is that I don't know if we'd say there's an issue with the plans, but certainly the box we built. And I think this really comes down to we didn't get the same size plywood, same thickness plywood that Dr. Leo Horizontal Hive had said, and that's what made the difference here. And if you look at our pieces that we cut, which is this piece here, and you look at it in relation to the side of the box, you can see that there's a gap here. And what's happened is when we close that in, that top isn't going to fit. So we thought it was important to show you that we messed up, rather than just make you think that this all went together slick the first time. So we're going to take this top back apart. These are going to start our fires with, and we're going to redo these now. And what we're going to take is we're going to use, instead of the 10 and a 16th measurement, we're just going to measure our boxes, because at the stage that you guys, if you were rebuilding this yourselves, you should already have these bottom parts, the box is done, and it's going to be literally a matter of taking a measure of whatever it is. So ours right now are just shy of 10 and a quarter. So we'll probably go maybe 10 and 5/16 to give us a little bit of room for paint, and in case these swell if they do get outside or whatever. So we're going back to the drawing board, cut some more of these. Okay, so we're back after having remanufactured 20 of these. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about the error that I made doing this, and I think this will probably make the whole video worthwhile for anyone that's following our instructions, or going through Dr. Leo's cut sheet. When we bought our plywood, we bought 1/2-inch plywood and 3/8. We bought 2 sheets of 3/8 construction grade sheathing, and we bought 1 sheet of 1/2-inch construction grade sheathing. But to be honest, the 1/2-inch is even more than 1/2 inch by like a 32nd or so, and the 3/8 is about 1/2 inch. Don't know if it's just the moisture content, maybe the sheet swelled, maybe their tolerances, really not sure. But when we built that and just went ahead and didn't get ready first, yeah, we made a mistake. So our first set of end pieces, if you were to set them on here, they actually were shorter than the width of our box. So when we put that together, obviously the top wouldn't fit. So we've added basically 1/4 inch to, actually we've added 5/16, a little better than 1/4 inch to what was in the cut plans off of horizontalhive.com. But what my advice to you would be, when you're breaking down your sheets of plywood and you're getting these parts ready for the tops, just don't break down a sheet of plywood until you're ready, because with the error that I've made now, my tops are actually going to not quite look right. They'll be fine because I'm going to cover them with tin and it'll be okay. So my advice to you would be to cut all your pieces, the bottoms, the sides, or bottom, he calls them walls, and the end walls. Do all those, build all the bottom parts, so just this box that you see here. And then use this box to figure out your dimension for this short piece here. And leave yourself a little bit of extra, because this is what's going to define your width of your top. Okay? And then the other thing to do, don't cut your tops out of the sheet of plywood until you've also done this, because now, and you'll see this once I build this first one, our tops aren't going to look exactly right because they're cut short to match what was in the description on horizontalhive.com. Nothing wrong with what was on Horizontal Hive. It's just that the plywood I ended up getting wasn't the same. So in order to allow for those differences, take our advice, learn from us, and wait to cut these pieces until you know the width of your box. And the same thing here. Wait to cut these until you know the width of what you're going to make these side pieces for.
Okay.
Okay, so now we'll go ahead and we'll build a couple of these. I'm probably going to Jill's going to have to do double duty of videographer and wood holder. So all you're doing is the same thing that we did before when we messed it up. And you're going to put a little bit on the ends of each of these. These go in between these guys. So if you would just hold that there. Double tap. Okay. So I'm either out of nails, no. tight enough. Got her that time. Okay, I'll flip this back to me. And again, don't worry about the square at this stage. I just have it laying there because when we put the top on, then it will matter. For right now, it doesn't matter. Just get all the sides together and that's all you got to worry about. And all I'm really doing here is I'm just trying to keep the sides and the top flush. And really, to be honest, it's probably not going to make a hill of beans difference when you're all said and done. Okay. Now, and just so you know, we're going to go ahead and be bold and we're going to build this all and then we're going to just do the same thing we did when we screwed it up and just put it on. We're not doing a test fit just for the video. We're just going to see if our mistake has been corrected. So, like I had said before, so now we will use a square. So we're just going to, Joe, can you just move that corner, this in? There we go. Okay, so now the square matters a little bit. And all we're going to do here, we're going to split the difference a little bit on that top. So see there now, I'm missing even more than I thought. So for the next tops, I'm probably only going to glue the two end boards. So the two end boards will hold it. And I can probably get a couple screws in the other. And it really won't matter because we're going to put tin over top of it anyways. Good up that end, Joe?
Yeah.
I don't know if these staples are really going to catch going in at an angle, but we'll see. Okay, so there's our top. And as promised, we're just going to try sliding around and hope for the best. Okay, there, that's much better than the last time. And it works out okay because I think the bulge of the plywood that's kind of bowing a little bit is putting a little bit of tension, so that lid's not like loose. I can't just lift it up. It's got a little bit of pressure, and by the time we paint these, I think that'll be good. So if you can see what I was talking about on the lid, you'll see that I'm missing a little bit on each side. So a little on this side, a little on this side. The top is good because we never changed the end measurement. So again, all I would advise is build these boxes and then using how we built this top, make your own adjustments so that, you know, so you don't stick exactly to what's on that chart. And then you could cut these pieces so that they fit exactly. And we'll pick you up when we've got the new top built and it hopefully fits properly. Scott, go lay down, stop shaking your collar. Well, I know, but he's... Alright, so we just made up this quick little jig. Both of these ends are loose. And, oh, our table's not very well fixed. So... Alright, so we'll fast forward through this section where I'm just cutting out the piece of tin that's going to go over top of it. It's a 24-inch flashing that I just got from the local hardware store. And I'm basically just eyeballing the cover to put it in the center of the piece of tin that we cut out. The little jig we made is two ends of it float, so we can shove that whole piece of flashing inside of it and cut it. And it is a little bit rough, but for what this is doing, it's more than enough. One other thing to be careful about here is that because the sides of the tin are kind of where they hang over it, they're kind of floppy and they don't really stick to the side of the cover. I was tempted to put a couple more staples in there, but it's important to remember that that's got to sit down on top of the box, and if you have staples protruding through the lower part of that, it won't sit on the cover properly. So just kind of squaring this up in the center. And we're just kind of eyeballing it because it's not going to be the end of the world if it's a little bit off. And then we're taking that. I'm going to do a cut out this way from it. Cut out this way from it. And a cut out this way from it. Okay. And one more in this corner.
So is there a reason why you have the shiny stuff on the inside?
We're just cutting the, this will end up on the outside.
Yeah, is there a reason behind
No,
that though?
this is painted, so that's going to be the one we want out facing outward. Okay. All we're doing here is just giving ourselves a little bit of room for when we bend this over in the corner of it. And again, I'm not being super careful with these. It's just the outer surface is already painted of this metal, so. And these aren't actually going to have these in. We're really just trying to protect these swarm traps so we can use them for 10 years is what our real goal is with all this.
And what kind of tin is that?
This is just regular flashing you get at your local Home Depot or up here home hardware. And we got the 24-inch wide stuff, and we just made these pieces each, like this little jig that we made here, and it's got a floppy end here and a floppy end there, so we can slide the whole sheet in 2 cuts. But we're making those 13 1/4 this way inches, and this way it's 17 7/8, and that should give us a piece that goes down the top of these nicely. Fold up this end. And we're just taking a little hit, and then fold this around the corner. Do the other hit. Same thing on this side. Flip around, do the same thing down here. That. And basically, give this a little bend up. Alright, Pat, might just need a little hand here, Pat. I think it'll be alright once we these up. So, I'll just get my corner over here. Same thing on this corner. that, you want to just give that a little, kind of form it a little for me. Yeah, and just, okay, so while we got that one, let's put a staple in it. Okay. Now, same thing. Yep, that's a little along there, and I think we're golden. And that's that.